Happy Monday. Welcome into our Sportsburst studios. The week is here, guys. The week that La Liga Santander returns to a beIN Sports screen near you has arrived, and we are officially just 3 days away from the La Liga restart date. Barca fans are breathing a sigh of relief worldwide today as Lionel Messi is back in full training. We head to Barcelona to get the latest on the La Liga Giants, plus the latest on Luka Jovic and another injury concern ahead of the restart. And speaking of Lionel Messi, not one, not five, but 22 players are deemed more valuable than Lionel Messi, according to the CIES Observatory's latest list of most valuable players in the world. Gary Bailey and Eric Krakauer are virtually in the house to break down that list, and we'll also reveal which Real Madrid player is most valuable. The answer is going to surprise many of you. Sportsburst starts right now. Hello, guys. Again, join the conversation. Comment below, and we'll get to your comments throughout the show. It is a massive week, and that is why we are going to head straight to Barcelona, where our Jamie Easton is standing by with the latest news on Lionel Messi's return to full team training. Jamie, this is great news for Barcelona fans. Give us the latest.
Massive week here, Gabby, in Spain. La Liga returns, and in Barcelona and in Madrid, we can go out on the street. As you see right now, there's no schedules, no timetables left. And it's a huge good news week for Barcelona fans because Leo Messi has been able to train together with his teammates today without any single problems. Quique Setién already said throughout the weekend that his problems were quite minor. There were muscular problems, but he will be able to play in Mallorca, and that will be the first time since Quique Setién is Barcelona's manager that he will be able to play with Suarez and Messi together. We'll see what's his first starting lineup after the pandemic situation, but that is huge news for Barcelona fans, of course.
It is, and last week you told us that Quique Setién wanted to train at the Camp Nou Stadium this weekend, and he did. How did that go?
Well, he organized a sort of a friendly game because, as you know, La Liga wouldn't allow any single club in Spain to organize sort of friendly games, for example, with the B teams or other teams. So what Barcelona did is just improvise sort of friendly game between a lot of B team players that trained together with the A team, with FC Barcelona. They organized that game at the Camp Nou, and we could see interesting images. For example, a wonderful goal by Luis Suarez, and Quique Setién said again that he is plenty of confidence for that game against Mallorca, but he insisted, Gabby, that he would just start La Liga a week later. And some people are thinking that he's a bit of a victim. He likes to play the victim role because they told him that he has had plenty of time to adapt to the new situation. We'll see if that affects Barcelona, but it was interesting to see that game played at the Camp Nou on Saturday. From today until Friday, they will train again at the Barcelona Sporting Training Center.
Definitely interesting. And let's shift gears. Let's go to the Spanish capital and get Real Madrid team news, where a bit of unfortunate news has emerged today. Real Madrid, a team that was quite unscathed by injuries up until this point. I mean, Luka Jovic had broken his foot, but that was before they really returned to training. The first injury casualty, and it is Nacho, Jamie. Is that correct?
It is correct. It is a muscular injury, so we'll see Nacho off the pitch for at least 2 weeks. Some people are even talking about 3 weeks, and that could be a problem for Zinedine Zidane because there's no alternative on the right back for Carvajal. If anything happens to Carvajal in the first game, there will be no replacement on the team. So we'll see what happens defensively speaking for Real Madrid, because it will be an intense start of La Liga with games every 3 days, every 72 hours. And nobody wants muscular injuries to happen. And Real Madrid has their first right now. Nacho injured.
Right, it was all going almost too perfectly for Zinedine Zidane. We had to expect something to go wrong just to even the playing field a little bit. We are getting so close to these matches restarting, and I want to get into the specifics of the matches with you. I'm hearing that there's going to be a minute of silence before each match, and also new details emerging about the artificial crowd noise and a virtual crowd similar to what we see in FIFA. Please explain this, because this is fascinating.
Yeah, I'll start with La Liga and the Spanish FA making official yesterday that there will just be 1 minute of silence before every single game in Spain, professional and non-professional football, to pay the respects to all the COVID-19 victims in this country, which have been quite a lot, unfortunately. And regarding the effects, the special effects we'll see at the stadiums, there will be two options. So every single broadcaster in the world will give the fans, the spectators, two options: to watch the game as it is, with no effects in the crowd, with no audio effects, just what the sounds would be like listening to the players or the coaches or the referees talking. The other option will be to put effects on the stage, on the stands, with a virtual fans, such as like the FIFA 20 video game allows you to experience, and also all those sound effects from that game the La Liga has been collecting from different games to make it all more realistic. So every single fan in the world, Gabby, even in the United States too, will have the option to choose audio effects and visual effects, or the image and the sound as it is. Interesting experience.
It really is interesting and unique, because the virtual crowd is very, very interesting. We'll see what ends up happening, and I'm sure people will either love it or hate it. They always have something to say. But Jamie, you are back on with us in our Sports Burst PM edition of the show, so we'll let you go for a bit, and we'll touch base again later on. Time to welcome in Eric Krakauer and Gary Bailey to the show, guys. We are 3 days away, as I said, from the La Liga restart. And here is a look at where we are going to pick up round 28 of La Liga, and it begins again on Thursday with the Seville derby. It's going to be an outstanding match, and this is a reminder that we are going to be on air for over 30 days straight, matches every single day. So use the hashtag BingeBeIN and join us as we binge the greatest league in the world. I do want to bring in Eric and Gary to the party, guys. You just heard the latest from Jamie. What do you make of this new news about a virtual crowd, similar to what we see in FIFA? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Gary, we'll begin with you.
I'm not so sure, Gabby, because I haven't seen many of the FIFA matches. I'll have to let Eric talk about that. But in terms of the actual sound, I love it. I mean, it's like a DJ playing the sounds. You've got the, in Bundesliga, you've got the exact sounds for the attack, for defense, the booing of the referee. And I just switch off. I don't see the empty stand so much. I hear the noise. I get excited by it. I think it's been absolutely brilliant. When people first mentioned adding noise, I was a little bit like, nah, I'm not so sure this is going to work. It's been absolutely stunning. So in that sense, fantastic. The other bit of news I'm very excited about, and I'm sure all Barcelona fans are, Messi is fit. He needs to be there, Gabby. He needs to be fit for the entire stretch if Barca are going to win this title. So I'm sure all Barcelona fans are delighted.
Barcelona fans and every fan of world football, really. I think the only ones that are probably upset are Real Madrid fans, but sorry, guys, you can't win them all. Eric, I want to send it over to you with the artificial crowd. I'm not sure if you're a big FIFA player, but it is similar to what you see in FIFA. I like it, and I think Gary hit the nail on the head with saying that you were a little bit concerned with it at the beginning, but the crowd noise has really grown on you. It's grown on me, and I think it's grown on you too, Eric.
It has, and that was quite the assumption on the part of Gary that I'm a FIFA player, but he's absolutely correct. I just hope that if they do put those digital fans on the stands, they'll do a little bit better than FIFA, who have, or the video game that has the one ubiquitous fan that supports every team. So a little bit of variety on the stands in La Liga will be appreciated. And you're right. Look, the fake sound, if you will, has really grown on me. I think it's been very well handled by the Bundesliga, and I think La Liga will follow suit.
It is. And so for those of you that are maybe joining us for the first day today, we've been playing a game. As the days get closer to the official La Liga restart date, we go through the jersey numbers in the league. And so today, with 3 days to go, we are going to go through the 3 best number 3s in La Liga. Here they are. Now, of course, this is jersey number, not position-wise. So bear with us. We know the game doesn't always work out perfectly. But of these 3 options, Gary, we'll begin with you. Which one tops your list?
Oh, it has to be Piqué. There's absolutely no debate whatsoever. I mean, Albiol's been a solid player, but I mean, his market worth these days is around 3 million. Diego Llorente, really, really good, strong central defender. He's worth about 22 million. But Piqué's worth the same as Llorente, and he's about 7 years older. I mean, Piqué's been there, done it, won everything, still performs. If you're asking me now, Gabby, for the next 6 months or the next year, who would I choose? It would be Piqué hands down. If it's for the next 6 years, well, maybe Llorente comes into it. But right now, Piqué in a class of his own, Gabby. Yeah,
it really is hard to disagree with you, Gary. But if one man can, it's usually Eric Krakauer. So, Eric, do you agree or disagree?
But I won't dare when it comes to this topic. I mean, you're talking about one of the best center backs of a generation in Gerard Piqué. And although he's had a slightly inconsistent season in the current campaign with some high-profile mistakes, the one that comes to mind, or the two that really come to mind, were against Levante at the Ciudad de Valencia stadium, where Barcelona shockingly lost that game. But I think that Diego Llorente at 26 is going to be one of the best center backs in Spain if he isn't already. He's already been called up into the national team setup both by Luis Enrique and by Robert Moreno when he took over, and I think he'll continue to be a presence under Lucho Enrique once again. So he's a terrific guy, but nobody, and Gary's absolutely correct, nobody can compare, especially with that jersey number where the options are limited, with Gerard Piqué.
Yeah, and our comment section does agree. I want to hit the comments here for a bit. Arturo Ruiz saying, I love you, beIN. No, Arturo, we love you. Thank you for joining us yet again. I want to hit Bob Flakema's comment here because it leads us into our next topic. He is questioning me, which I appreciate. Greatest league in the world, question mark. Debatable. And I want to have that debate because as we get ready for La Liga Santander to kick off, we look around Europe at other leagues that are maybe have already started, like the Bundesliga, or gearing to kick off like Serie A or the English Premier League. And I do believe that La Liga is the best title race going on at the moment, not only for the title itself, but for those coveted Champions League spots. This is a league that from top to bottom is going to be a battle through the next 11 rounds. And I want to hear your thoughts on that and why you guys each think it is the best league in the world at the moment. And Gary, we'll begin with you.
No question, it's the best league. I agree with you, Gabby. I mean, Bundesliga's over. Unfortunately, Bayern beat Dortmund. That killed that. PSG had won it, I think, 3 months ago. And Juventus, yeah, Lazio are right next to them, but Juve is just too big and strong a side. And of course, Liverpool have won EPL. So the only league that really is going to be of interest, maybe besides Juve, Lazio battle in Serie A, is La Liga at the top. And not just that there's a battle for the top, Gabby, there is with Juve and Lazio, but Lazio not a world-class side. Let's just be honest, with all due respect to them. Here you're talking about Real Madrid and Barcelona, two of the biggest teams in the world. In fact, they are the biggest along with Manchester United. Got to get that in there, Gabby. So those two, you're looking at two of the biggest clubs with some of the greatest players, neck and neck. If Barca slip up against Mallorca and Real Madrid win, they will go top by virtue of the head-to-head. So it's all set up for an incredible sprint to the finishing line. This season, no question, it's La Liga. All I'd say, Gabby, is in future, I just wish that Atleti would be a bit more competitive. Maybe some of the other clubs would join in and become a Sevilla, Valencia, because it often is a two-horse race in Spain and it's not in EPL. That's what makes EPL so exciting. But for this year, Gabby, 100% La Liga is the place to be.
Absolutely, and that fight for the Champions League spots is going to go down to the wire. You speak about Atleti. We expected more from Atleti this season, especially with the summer that they had. Unfortunately, it didn't really come to fruition for Diego Simeone. We are going to discuss the best manager in La Liga in our PM edition of the show. You guys will definitely want to join us for that. But Eric, your thoughts on La Liga being the best Liga?
Well, I agree. I just think it's funny that Gary, right at the tail end, kind of contradicted himself by saying that the Premier League, in a way, could be more competitive. Not this season. But look, everything is in play this season in La Liga. Not only the race between Barcelona and Real Madrid, but the battle for the Champions League spots, and then there are a few teams vying for those remaining Europa League spots, and then we have a very tight contest to avoid relegation. So everything is in play. And of course, as Gary mentioned, and he's 100% correct, when you talk about a race between two of the biggest clubs, if not the two biggest clubs in world football, Real Madrid and Barcelona, all eyes will be on this league. But I will add this last point. I don't think La Liga is the best league in Europe just because we have races in every part of the table, but because this is where the best football in Europe is practiced, hands down. You take the smallest teams in Spain, the ones that are trying to stave off relegation, and they still play more attractive football than most of the teams in the Premier League from the middle down.
Excellent point, Eric, and you're absolutely right. And it is the best league because not even us, the people who study this day in and day out, can agree on who is going to win the league. We have tallied our talent, our journalists, our analysts, on who they think is going to win the league. And guys, we are dead even down the middle between Real Madrid and Barcelona. So even amongst the people who do this for a living, we cannot even agree. So it's going to be a really exciting and excellent run. You guys won't want to miss a minute of the action. In other news, though, today, shifting gears from Spain to France we go. The French transfer window opens today, and a very interesting list was published. We absolutely love the CIES Observatory. We've had its creator on multiple times on SportsBurst, and they have released a list of the most valuable players to date, post-COVID, taking everything into account. And the top 5 of this list, it was surprising to me, and I want to get your initial thoughts on it. We're going to bring it up for everyone to see in just a couple seconds. Here it is. Mbappe does top the list. Raheem Sterling in second, Jadon Sancho in third, Alexander-Arnold in fourth, and then, of course, Marcus Rashford in 5th place. 4 out of the 5 are Englishmen, which would make Ray Hudson chuckle. Unfortunately, he's not here. Gary, what's your thought on 4 out of the 5 being Englishmen, and, of course, Kylian Mbappe topping this list?
I'm also very, very surprised because generally in England we've sort of struggled to have the greatest players in Europe. We've had tough teams to beat, typical English and gritty. But to have the best players and the most valuable players, so like Jadon Sancho, what a talent he is, and Rashford, I mean, it really is, and even a defender in there in Trent Alexander-Arnold. So it does augur well for England in the future. But just looking at them, Raheem Sterling, Gabby, second most valuable player in the world. I'm looking at that going, I'm not so sure. I mean, is he better than Haaland? Because, I mean, they're working it obviously to do with age. The younger you are, the more value you have, more years ahead, etc. So Erling Haaland is much younger than Raheem Sterling. He scores more goals than Raheem Sterling. And yet he's way down the list, and Sterling 7. Even Sadio Mane scored more than Sterling, and I think is worth a lot more. And they've got him as $50 million less. So, yeah, I like it. I don't agree with everything. I think we'll talk more about some of the bigger names lower down who are a bit older. But in terms of surprises, Raheem Sterling second, not so sure about that, Gabby.
Yeah, that also was a surprise to me. Eric, were you surprised by anyone in this top 5, and do you think anyone's number is a little bit off? Your thoughts?
Well, it's very difficult to really gauge these things. The one surprise for me is Trent Alexander-Arnold in the top 5, and not because he's not a player with immense quality, arguably the best right back in the world. Not only that, but one that has fundamentally changed the position. But the fact that for the most part you see a top-heavy list with forwards, because scoring goals is the most difficult thing that you could possibly do in the game. So that's a little bit surprising, but it speaks to his ability to change the game with his dead ball delivery, his assists, his crosses, what have you. I will push back on the Raheem Sterling point. Whether he's number 2, number 3, or number 3 or number 4, or in the top 5, you can argue between 1 or 2 positions, but it is unquestionable that at 25, Raheem Sterling should be one of the most valuable players in the world. He's got a proven track record of scoring. It seems like he's been playing forever, and that's because he has, playing for Liverpool as a 17-year-old. He scores consistently. He's improved significantly under Pep Guardiola, and he's only 25, so certainly deserves to be in the top 5. And number 2, I don't think is too otherworldly of a position for him to be in.
Well, I do think it's a little otherworldly, to put it in your words, that Lionel Messi is down in 22nd place. That means that 21 players are deemed more valuable than the man, the myth, the legend, Lionel Messi. Now, we did go through this list and do a top 5 of La Liga players. You have to go down to 8th place to hit your first La Liga player, which is Antoine Griezmann. We're going to pull up a list of the top 5 La Liga most valuable players. But 3 players ahead of Lionel Messi, even when we break it down to La Liga players. Griezmann, João Felix, and Frankie de Jong. Messi does come in 4th, Saúl in 5th. And you have to go all the way down to 38th place to hit your first Real Madrid player. We'll reveal who that is in just a couple minutes, but let's break down this list. Are you guys surprised that Griezmann tops the most valuable player in La Liga list? Gary, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, Griezmann's only 3 years younger than Messi and doesn't score anywhere near the number of goals. He scored 8. Messi scored 14 with 12 assists. Or was it 14 or 19 with 12 assists? I mean, he's scored way more. He's a more effective player. I'd rather have Messi for 2 years than Griezmann for 4 years, for example. So I don't get that Griezmann's a more valuable player than Messi at all. João Felix, I think he's scored a handful of goals. Is he more valuable? Maybe one day. I mean, this is all about crystal ball gazing. I'm interested in now. Right now, I would have Messi for the next year. You can give me João Felix and Griezmann. I'd still rather have Messi. So how the valuation is done is very, very much linked to age and what they might be in the future. And that's too much stargazing for me. As far as I'm concerned, Messi should be right up. Maybe not in the top 5. I get it that he's 32 but he's got to be close. He's got to be 6th or 7th, just behind these youngsters, and he's not. So, Gabby, that's the first thing that stands out for me. I think that's a huge, huge error on their part.
Brendan Burns saying Messi is old, though, and we do have to take into account that these calculations are made based on how long their contract is, their age, of course. But I think a lot of people would agree with you, Gary, that they'd prefer Lionel Messi for a year than João Felix and Griezmann together for 4, just as you said. Eric, your thoughts on the top 5 in La Liga, Messi's placement, and Griezmann topping that list?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit surprising to see Griezmann in that position, and I think Gary's absolutely right insofar as his points about Lionel Messi. But of course, when you put up a list like this, you're thinking about lots of variables, and the main one is age and how many years those players will be able to contribute in an impactful way for whatever team that they're in. And, you know, sadly, Lionel Messi will probably only be playing 3, 4, 5 years of football at the very top of his game. Maybe he will completely exceed expectations because that's what he's done for his entire career. Surprised not to see Eden Hazard on that list, and I think maybe his injuries have a lot to do with it. He is 29, the same age as Griezmann, hasn't quite put up the same numbers this season because he's been sidelined. But yeah, certainly interesting to see Griezmann in that position.
Yeah, and let's get to the Real Madrid story because Eden Hazard doesn't crack the top 40 of this list. In 38th, and who, as per this list, is the most valuable player for Real Madrid, is Rodrigo. Does this surprise you, Gary?
It does. It does very much, because I think the best defender in the world plays for Real Madrid, and that's Varane. Why is he not in his 26 or thereabouts, mid-20s? Why is he not in the top 5 or 6 in the world? He's got to be. He's big, he's strong, he's quick, ever so quick. And if you're one of the best defenders in the world, then you've got to be way high. Virgil van Dijk's there, why not Varane? Casemiro, one of your best defensive midfielders in the world, why is he not there? Freddy Valverde. I mean, there's a whole bunch of players there that don't even appear at all. Rodrigo being the first of them, and I'm looking at this thing, whoever put this together doesn't like Real Madrid because Benz doesn't even make an appearance, and he's scored a ton of goals this season. So whoever's putting this together, you can clearly see, I think, Gabby, they're not a Real Madrid fan.
Yeah, there is something in the numbers that really is not favoring Real Madrid or the investments that Florentino Perez has made, which I'm certain he will not be happy about. And this just makes the point that they want to get Mbappe even more, because we all know Real Madrid like to be very high on this list when it comes to having the most valuable players on their squads. You, Eric, Rodrigo, the most valuable player, do you agree with it? Do you see it? Do you understand it? Or does this make no sense to you?
It does make sense because Rodrigo is, 18 years old. He's got a lot of future ahead of him. He's simply a phenomenal player, and he's just going to become more and more important at Real Madrid. You've always known, Gab, that I prefer him to Vinicius. Even though Vinicius has surprised me in this campaign, he's really developed. Maybe he's an interesting omission from this list. Gary's right insofar as Varane is concerned. I don't think I would put him above Virgil van Dijk right now, but he's certainly in the vicinity. So he should be, at his age, a World Cup winner ahead of Rodrigo. Oh, but the point about Benzema, let's not forget that he's 32 years old, almost 33. So there's not much of a market value there.
Yeah, great point, guys. I do want to bring up our last point very quickly. The Champions League is looking at the potential of hosting the remainder of the matches in a hub city of sorts, with a city in either Germany or Portugal now leading the race. Lisbon, as Eric and I know and are very familiar with, is leading the race. What do you make of that, Eric?
Well, I think it's great. Look, Portugal is a country that has handled the COVID crisis better than most other nations, particularly in Europe. They've got two big stadiums in Lisbon, the Benfica and the Sporting Stadium, so I think it would be a very good site to hold those games.
Alrighty, and Gary, we're going to get your thoughts on that in our PM edition of the show because we have officially run out of time. But we do want to remind you guys to join us on Sports Burst PM. We are going to talk about the defenses in the La Liga title race, Real Madrid and Barcelona, who is lining up stronger once this restart kicks in. We're also going to talk about who is the best manager in La Liga. You know that debate is going to get spicy. See you at 7. Ciao, ciao.